Peace, 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 IG. Daniel KC1 NCF tapping in with your family. Today or tonight's live topic, daily survival tip number 15. Train your children to contribute and earn their keep. That is our daily survival tip number 15 that we're going to talk about tonight. This is extremely important on an entirely another level. The reality is that children are 20% of the world's 20% or so of the world's population, but 100% of our future. Again, children are 20 or so percent of the world's population, but they are indeed, in fact, without a doubt, 100% of the population. It's an extremely important thing to understand and to take into consideration when you look at your child, when you look at any child, when you have interactions and cross paths with the child. Understand that when you look at a child, when you look at a person, in their 20s and under, you're looking at the future. You're looking at the future of the planet. You're looking at the future of leadership. You're looking at the future of everything. Point blank period. So you have to, peace. Thank you, family, for tapping it with me. We got Q minus in the building. KOLWC's in the building. Listen. I appreciate that. I'm here to hype you with the viewer. Appreciate that. So we got Marissa Black in the building. So this is a very big topic here. Very big topic. And I want to actually, I'm going to add a sister who asked me to somewhat touch on this topic. I hope she taps into the live. Sister Beatrice. She wanted me to talk a little bit about children and preparedness, right? Now, again, I'm going to say this again. Children are 20% or so of the population of the world, but they are 100% of the future. Point blank period. So that brings us to daily survival tip number 15. Train your children to contribute and earn their keep. Point blank period. When you walk past a child, when you interact with a child, when you're looking at your own children, your nieces, your nephews, and again, 20s and under, right? I mean, some of us, I'm 32. I'm about to be 33. Some of us gonna be here for a little bit longer, right? But it's a guarantee that these children are the future. You know what I mean? Generally speaking, we have to begin to look at our children as extensions of ourselves. If you knew that you could project yourself another 50, 60 years into the future, past your time, past your prime, what would you train yourself? How would you train yourself to better navigate the world and to have a better impact on the world? How would you train yourself to meet and overcome the obstacles that are out there waiting for your future self, for the extension of you? How would you train that extension of you so that they can get through the inevitable obstacles, the obstacles that may not be inevitable but that are probable? How do you train the extension of yourself to view the world and view themselves as an individual who's not only capable but also has the responsibility to contribute positivity and forward progressive thoughts and actions to the world? They have a responsibility to try to take the world from whatever state, whatever stage, whatever degree it's in, and raise that degree in some way, shape, or form, right? You have to train your children that whenever they desire good, whenever they see others doing good, that they should contribute to that. Whenever they see something that is not right, something that is off, something that is out of balance, they should contribute something to bring it back into balance, to push it towards the good side, to get it back on the right path. Teach your children to contribute. Teach that they have to give of themselves. Everything's not about can I have, this is what I need. No, what can I do to help clean the house? What can I do to help bring some money into the house? Children bring money in the home too. Now, the way I do with my son is when he gets money or whatever, and we go out, he wants to spend his money, most times I'll say, okay, yeah, whatever. But then I end up buying whatever it is he wants anyways. I don't let him buy it. Kind of let him get all the way to the store with the impression that he's going to, right? But at the end of the day, when daddy's there, he contributes, point blank period. He's going to clean his room. He's going to contribute to everything that's going on. But it's not a personal thing. It should be personal for each of us individual, but why I say it's not a personal thing is because with other people's children, you know, when you see a child and you have the opportunity to interact with a child, give them a positive word, give them an example that they can use, give them a perspective, like they're looking at you and they're seeing you do something that is helping somebody. Let them see you do something that is pushing something forward or upward. Let them see you contributing to the betterment of your community, to the betterment of your home, to the betterment of society. Don't let them see you being destructive. Don't allow them to see you being divisive. Don't allow them to see you polluting or degrading or bringing down the fabric of society. Let them know that they have a choice, and the best choices or the choices they should make should be the ones that are the best for themselves and for their community. So contribute is a huge part. They have to know that you have to put in to this world. Right? You're going to put in, as long as you're breathing, as long as you're around, you're alive, you're going to be putting something into the world, some kind of energy, some kind of perspective, some kind of example. Make sure that it's a positive one. And then the second part to that is, you know, train them to contribute and teach them to earn their keep. They have to understand that, you know, just because you're here doesn't entitle you to anything. It doesn't entitle you to anything. You have to earn your keep. If you want this, what are you going to do to get it? There are responsibilities we have as parents and as elders in the community. We should provide protection for our children. We should provide food for our children. We should provide clothing and shelter for our children. We should provide opportunity and exposure to positive, uplifting, you know, things, right, to our children. We should provide culture, positive culture. We should provide an example to our children. But at the end of the day, they have to provide something to that part as well. They have to pay attention. You know, I talked about paying attention in a past life. You know, I think I said you have to learn to pay attention or suffer the cost of ignorance, right? You're either going to pay attention, I mean, there's an action there. You're exchanging something. You're exchanging energy. You're exchanging your senses. You have to exchange your intention or attention, or you're going to have to pay the cost of ignorance. If you don't pay attention to what you're doing, if you don't take care with how you handle people, how you handle your home, how you handle your surroundings, how you handle your belongings, how you handle your own mind and your body, it will cost you. It will cost you. So you have to earn your keep. You have to put something in order to reap something positive. And depending on whether or not you make the choice to do something good will determine whether or not you get back manifold of that or something else, you know, of some kind of universal compensation, if you will, divine reciprocity, or if you allow things to just happen around you and you don't take an effort and make an effort to change your situation and circumstances on an individual personal level, in your household, and talking about the children, in your community, in your nation, in the world, then if something befalls you that is other than, you know, pleasant, don't come crying to nobody. Don't come complaining to nobody. And then, of course, again, you have to expose them to that example. You have to expose them to a certain way. You know, you have to expose them to the path, the correct path, you know, before you can start pointing the finger and say, well, if you get this, you know, then you deserve it because da da da. No, it has to be a balance there. You have to. That's why you have to teach them to contribute by example, and you have to train them to earn their keep through example. Now, how does this deal with survival and preparedness? Same thing. You know, in a situation or circumstance where things may not be in your control because of a natural disaster, because of some reason you're displaced from your normal situation, or you're hunkered down and you're sheltered in place in whatever your situation is, they have to contribute. What, they laying up on no school? School shut down for how long in this country? What were the children doing? What were they doing when they couldn't just readily go out to the park? You know, most of the stores were closed and after school programs. What were your children doing, right? Hopefully they were in the house contributing to the cleanliness of the house. Hopefully they were contributing to, you know, the maintenance of the family, you know, whatever was going on in the home. You know what I mean? Like, I don't believe in the whole, I understand enjoy your childhood, right? But I don't think that means just have fun throughout your whole childhood and don't worry about any responsibility until you get older. And there's a reason why I don't necessarily like that saying that people have put out there, right? Because when I look at it, there's so many people, there's so many examples in this world of, and it's not always, you know, the best, but of children who were trained to actually put in work as children, as teenagers, as youth. And I'm not talking about hard labor. I'm talking about children who their parents were strict to some degree, and they made sure that they were on point with their schooling and their lessons. They made sure that they were on point and respectful. They made sure that their children understood what it meant to earn their money and to be responsible with their actions. And children have produced. There are many children who have produced products and businesses and that run businesses and that own companies. There are many children that are producers now. I'm talking about 5 years old. I'm talking about 4-year-olds that are producing. We're talking about teenagers who are producing. They have millions of dollars. I'm not talking about money that was handed down to them. We see a lot of this mostly outside of this country, but even within this country and even in your own community, there are children that are out here starting businesses. Some that had the example, some that didn't, right? And then as they get older, they might get into their 20s and their 30s and they're retired. And they're able to travel and live their life. Every child is not going to be in a position to do that, right? At least not currently. But every child has the opportunity to live that type of lifestyle. And if we as parents, as we as the elders, if we as those with experience in this world bring these children up, we pull them up and we push them forward and show them and lead, because you have to be behind, right, to push somebody forward, right? You have to be there with them. You can take them along with you, right? Arm in arm, if you will. There's so many different ways to say it, but really we should be leading them, and you lead from the front. So, but if we are giving them the example of what it looks like to get up early in the morning and pray and clean and then get to work, whether it's going to your 9 to 5 or it's doing for self, whichever one it is, if you give them that example and they see you on a daily basis, dang, your mom, she don't stop, she gets up and she grinds, dang, dad, and you don't never, but and then they see the results. You might struggle, like we struggle to make things happen, right? And hopefully if we're struggling and we're staying on that right path, then we'll have some kind of result. Some of us get there faster than others. If you're not there yet, keep pushing. I'm not there yet, right? But my son sees me grind, point blank period, and I make sure of that. And so when I get there, he'll know exactly how I got there. He'll know why I got there, even if he doesn't have all the intricate details and all of the different pain points and all of the things I went through, because there's certain things you shelter them from, right? At the end of the day, he'll see that example and he'll have something that he can work with, right? So if we're leading our children and we're showing them the way forward, we're showing them a way forward, I should say, not the way forward, we're showing them a way forward, and that it's attached to a certain work ethic. It's attached to a principle of divine reciprocity. You put into the universe the type of energy that you want to get out of it. And more than likely, you're going to get out of it more than you put in. Right, you're going to reap more than what you sow. But if you give them that example, then the likelihood that they follow in that example is greater. It's a lot easier than, pawning them off on a book or a TV or a show or some other example on the screen. There's nothing wrong with showing them that imagery if you're going to have them on the screen, if you're going to have them reading books, which you should, of course. Then make sure that those books and what's on that screen fits what you're trying to project onto their minds, right? Because everything you read, everything you watch, whether you know it or not, the subconscious mind records that, and whether you decide to or not, or realize that you're doing it, it factors everything that you encounter into the equation that it uses to make everyday decisions. When your brain makes a decision, whether you're conscious of that decision or not, the subconscious mind does factor in all of your experience, all of your exposure. You don't have to realize that. It's just an actual fact. It takes every single bit of data that it's ever had access to and not quantifies it. It weighs it against what its choices are and says, well, this is the way we're going to go, right? And you might think that you're consciously making the decision. Sometimes you are, but it's always influenced by that experience. So if you spend time pouring into them and showing them these positive examples, then they have more data. They have, a higher chance of actually making those right decisions. So train your children to contribute and to earn their keep. Now, I have to bring it back around to survival and preparedness. When things hit the fan, let me tell you something. You don't want, and that's why I started talking about, the whole COVID thing. When things hit the fan in that situation, right? Again, no school, a lot more idle time. But what are they doing with this time? What are you showing them during that time? Did you just get knocked on your behind and fall off? Or did they see you pivot? Did they see you, call an audible and switch up? And then, okay, listen, I'm not working right now here, but I'm going to go grind over here. I might not be able to do X, Y, Z, but I'm going to put my head in some books. I'm going to do some research. I'm going to let them see me working out. I'm going to let them see me working on my diet and working on other things that, because I was so busy before COVID, I couldn't focus on it. So now I can focus, and I'm gonna let my child see me doing this, and I'm gonna invite them in to do it with me. I'm gonna let them see me praying, or whatever it is that the example that you want to give, right? Because in that post-collapse world, everybody has to contribute. In a survival preparedness situation, everybody has to contribute. If the world went to crap tomorrow, and the economy just straight collapsed, it doesn't have to be some kind of big disaster situation. I mean, that would be an economic disaster, right? With all these wildfires, drought and stuff, if we end up in some kind of famine, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? Sit around crying and begging, Mom, when are we gonna eat? Dad, I'm hungry. No, get out here in the field with me. We're gonna go hunting together. We're going to go fishing together. I need you to get over there and sow them seeds, right? And I'm not, and I said together, but really you should be able to give the child a fishing pole and send them to the creek. Go catch some fish. I'm going to be in the field, or vice versa. You should be able to hand your child a tool and say, here, take that tire off. Or I need you to get that fire started. Or I need you to handle whatever order of business that needs to, or some part of the order of business that needs to be handled without some kind of pushback. There shouldn't be no pushback, because if you train your children properly, they'll know that, okay, it is what it is. Like, Dad asked me, Ma asked me to do this. It is what it is. Because in their everyday life, your children should know, if I ask you to do something, it's not for no reason. If I ask you to do something, it's because you are a member of this family. You're a child, but you're a little human. See, it goes both ways. I like to tell people that, children are little people, right? And by that, I typically say it to point out the reality that we should talk to them like little people, not like babies. We should speak to them intellectually. We should speak to them as if even if they don't understand, we should speak to them as if they understand, meaning, don't not use big words just because they're little. No, let them ask the question. What is that? I don't understand what you're saying. Okay, good. Well, this is what it means. Speak to them like little people, right? But the other thing is, treat them like little people, like you got to contribute. So if you raise your children in a manner that they don't think like, okay, I'm a child, stay in the child's, no, forget that stay in the child's place thing. There's of course a reality to that when it comes to you're handling business, you're handling certain things that is that belongs in the adult realm. Be tactful with how you handle that, right? It's not stay in a child's place. You're not ready for that. You don't trust me. We'll deal with that in a couple years, or don't worry about it. I got it. I'll explain that to you at a later time or something like that, right? But this is something I need to handle. You know what I mean? They find another way to say it. But wherever it's not something that, you know, you have to be grown or whatever you think you have to be for a human being to be able to attach themselves to a problem, allow them to attach themselves to a problem. How do we solve that situation? Okay, you're hungry and what? There's food in the kitchen. Like everybody, most people have food in their homes that, you know, doesn't require a stove to be turned on. You got to go hand your child everything. You got to go rinse off every piece of fruit for them. You got to go cut every piece of fruit for them. You got to go peel. No, I don't think so. You're hungry, go make something to eat. You thirsty, go get yourself something to drink. You tired, you cold, you whatever it is, go do something about it. You're bored, find something to do, right? Like, and not, you know, harshly. You say things. Again, you have to speak to them. They're people, right? They're not babies. They are your child, but they're not babies. Treat them like little people. The longer you treat a child like a child, the longer they will remain a child. The sooner you begin to speak to a child and treat a child like they are an individual human being with the ability to think for themselves and do for themselves, the sooner they will catch on and start to think for themselves and do for themselves. Again, daily survival tip number 15. Train your children to contribute and earn their keep. And when things get tough and when things get rough, you'll have another person 5 years old, 6 years old, maybe even younger, a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old. Then when things hit the fan, it's more like, okay, what we doing? What's good, Mom? What's good, Pops? How we handling the situation? Okay, I need you to get over there and do X, Y, Z. I need you to head over here and do this, da, 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 da. Boys and girls alike. I don't, you know. It's extremely important to understand. If you were in a situation, a circumstance, an emergency, and what happens if you're the parent that carries the weight most of the time, right? And you end up injured. Do you want your child, walaikum salam, do you want your child to sit there cry, oh, mommy, daddy's hurt, or would you want your child to be able to say, okay, the first aid kit's over here, you know, it's a small cut, whatever, I already know, I've watched them do it. I'm gonna clean the wound. I'm gonna pour some peroxide or some alcohol on that bad boy. I'm gonna get a Band-Aid. I'm gonna get him bandaged up, right? I said something like a small wound, right? Will they know how to deal with some kind of swelling? You fall and you break your arm or your leg. Can they help you put on a splint? You know what I mean? You want a child that, and if they couldn't do all of that stuff, that they at least have the mindset to try to figure it out, where they don't feel helpless. You don't need your children to feel helpless. You need your children to feel like they can contribute. Would you say, we had a question in the comment section, would you say it's like when we take on adult-like roles at a young age? I'll say it's like when we take on roles of responsibility at a young age. And I say that because an adult role to me would be to pay the bills. An adult role to me would be to answer the door, right? There's like certain things that I still draw a line on. Like I don't want my son to be answering the door. Like he could be 15 years old. If I'm here, I'm going to answer the door. Personally speaking, again, because stuff comes from experience. Anybody could be on the other side of that door, family. I done lived another type of lifestyle. There's some very crafty and tricky people out here. I know a little something about sending the right person to the door in order to get someone to open the door, just for there to be another extra person on the other side of that door and, hey, how are you? I think most of you get what I'm saying. So no, that's the adult's role, right? It's the adult's role when there's something structurally wrong or something wrong with the structure of the household, something's wrong with the structure of the family, that the adults in the household, the mother and the father, hopefully that's the situation, those who are the heads of the household have to get together and figure those kind of things out. The real big financial situations and the order and structure of the overall family unit. But other than that, what is an adult role, right? Contributing financially. A child could contribute financially. They could earn money and contribute financially if they really wanted to. But I wouldn't put anything on them outside of, because children, internet. If my son really wanted to and he was already like 13, 14, make some money, I might give him the internet. He's not paying for no utilities, no gas, no lights, no rent. I'm not going to charge him rent. If my son was 22 years old and he's trying to figure things out, I'm just be real with you. This is me. And he's trying to figure things out. And I know he's working on it. And he's 22 years old, 23 years old. And he's just still struggling. Because again, we don't all make it right away. And he's living under my roof. I'm not charging my son rent. I'm not charging him no utilities. Internet, maybe. You put some food in the refrigerator because you're big behind, gonna be eating some of the food, or maybe you go fish and catch us some food, right? But at the end of the day, if that child is on point and they're doing something, I'm not charging them. Now, if by the time they're 20 and it seems like they're not getting it, you might have to get up out of here, honestly. But that's something else. It's another thing. But quite honestly, I think that we push our children off too young. And I've told my wife, for years, and I told other people, I intend to raise my son and to train him in such a way that by the time he's 16, I could emancipate him. Like, you don't need to be here. Why wait till you're 18? You're perfectly capable of handling yourself. I have every confidence in you. That's how I intend to raise my son. Like, I want him to get to the age. I wanted to be that way before 16, but I think 16 legally is the age that they can be emancipated. Maybe if the parent's sole choice, they can do it sooner. I don't know, legally speaking. But at least by the time my son's 16, I intend for my son to be mentally, emotionally, physically, intelligently capable of going on his own. Point blank period. Already having, either graduated college or definitely high school, but graduated college if that's the route he wants to go. I don't think my son needs to go to college. I don't think anyone needs to go to college, but if that's the route he wants to go, that's the route he can go. But I intend to have him sharp enough to be able to get that in and out as soon as possible. Unless, of course, there's certain things like being a doctor and all that kind of stuff that takes time. Those technical things like that, yeah. But he'd be able to get a degree. He'd have the knowledge, skill, and drive to start, run, manage, and build a business, grow a business to the point where he's 16, he's responsible, respectful, he contributes, and he earns his keep. And at 16, signing papers, hey, go off into the world, proud. Like, that'd be you graduate from home at 16 or something like that. Honestly, that's how I view, that's why I want my son to, that's the role I want, that's the way I want to take him. So what was I saying? Oh, so in an emergency situation, you want that child to be able to know, okay, well, we got to get things in order. Take inventory. They need to be able to assess the property and assess, do not a security, it's a security assessment, but threat assessment, right? They should be able to look at the situation and circumstance and make a conscious decision as what's the next move. Or your child should be capable at 12 years old, 10 years old, right? Because you talk to them, you deal with them a certain kind of way. Now, they're not making decisions, but things hit the fan and invite them to the table with all the other adults in the family, and when questions are asked everybody else, and what's your input? And your 10-year-old, your 12-year-old, and even younger, because there's some children that are younger than that can do that. And it's like, okay, what's your thought input? Well, Dad, according to this and da 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 da, Mom, whatever, da 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 da, I think we should. Okay, Okay, anybody object? You know, and it's the same way you talk to the adult sitting next to them and the adult on the other side of them. You talk to them the same way. You let them speak their piece because you've trained them to be considerate. You train them to contribute. You've trained them to take responsibility for themselves and their home and their environment. You train them that if I step out, you're in charge. You train them that if you don't know, you ask. If you don't know, you research. If you don't know, you look it up. You don't make decisions based off of how you feel. You make decisions based off of what you know. You make decisions based off of what makes sense. You make decisions not based on what somebody else, someone else, you know, pressures you into doing. You make decisions off of something that someone says that you've weighed and you've considered, and you say, okay, that makes sense, and I'll give that a try. You can train a child up that way at a very young age, and that's what we're talking about tonight, family. You might say self-defense, exactly. You know, homes have been broken into. That goes back hundreds of thousands of years, right? Thievery and larceny is an old thing. It's something that's been around. People taking from other people. You know, fights aren't a new thing, right? War is not a new thing. There are plenty of places on the planet right now where there are child soldiers, and everything is wrong with that. Everything is wrong with that. Everything is wrong with the reason why these children are in that position, I should say. But the fact that those children have the knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding, and they're trained, so you see them not carrying that power, wielding that power correctly, that's because of the training, but they know enough to do it. They know enough to stand up and defend themselves. You know, I don't want someone breaks into the house, you know, you step off to the back. You get into this room, you get into that room. But if push comes to shove and someone gets past me, you're not just Dad while someone's picking you up and running, Mom while somebody's gagging you, and you just, no, there's no helplessness over here. Kick, punch, scratch. I don't believe in weapons, but if you're a person that you know who has weapons, there are places that train children to shoot. You should not give them access to the firearms in your home, but in a safe environment at a range that allows it, train them to shoot. Because if something happens and someone comes into your home with the weapon and the weapon falls in their hands, or if they know where it is and they could get access to it, maybe it might be best to have that child do it. Or you fell victim and they can pick up the arm you dropped and handle it enough to eliminate the threat, right? If you're a person that believes in firearms, yeah, you should train your children to respect them, to use them properly. Because if you're going to have them in the environment, they shouldn't be in the environment with them vulnerable and in a position to where if they had to pick one up and use it, that they couldn't. They should be able to throw those hands. They should be able to kick and punch and know that it's okay to defend your life. Plenty, there's survival instincts of just kicking. That is not true. Plenty of children go kicking, not kicking the enemy, but kicking the air, crying, mommy, daddy, or whatever have you. Plenty of children are not because you train them to go hide, they just run and hide and won't fight. Don't train your children that way. Train them to step off and let me handle this situation. And if I'm overcome and if someone gets past me and gets to you, you fight. Point blank period. So your self-defense is a part of that. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm getting a little too passionate. Let me relax. Very important topic though. Touchy topic. Sister Beatrice didn't tap in. I'm gonna tag her in this post when I save it so she can check it out. But yeah, you know, farming, animal or agriculture, animal husbandry, self-defense and security of the community, just how to build shelter, how to start a fire, how to fish, how to clean, how to navigate, how to communicate, how to contribute thought and input, how to discern, how to contemplate and really take in, train your child how to receive information, how to internalize information, how to clear words, how to ask questions, when to ask questions, when to be quiet, how to be observationally aware, how to how to observe and be situationally aware. Practice situational awareness by observing your environment and taking information, what you hear, what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you can feel. Not just feel with your hands, but feel with your energy, and how to discern what it is that's coming in and make decisions according to it. Train your children in these things and put them in a position that if things hit the fan, they can contribute and earn their keep. If things never hit the fan, then guess what? You're gonna grow up, and by the time your child's 18 years old, they will contribute and earn their keep. This is the goal we should have for our children, because again, they are 20% of the population, but 100% of the future. They are our responsibility. They, all of them, are all of us, responsibility. It's that simple. Thank you, family, for tapping in. Train your children. Do daily survival tip number 15. Train your children to contribute and earn their keep. Thank you. Daniel Casey1 NCF signing out. Peace.